I'll tell you, sometimes you think you've seen it all, and then a story like this comes up. And I'll tell you, if this is true, then Joe Biden, President Biden, and everyone associated with him, well, they're just plain diabolical. I don't know how else to describe the accusations that he is now facing. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Trish Regan Show. I am Trish, and this is pretty awful stuff. Republicans are saying that Joe Biden and his Health and Human Services Department are actually withholding much needed antibodies for the coronavirus in southern states, specifically Republican red states. I'll tell you, if this is true, if he is actually rationing COVID treatment and not allowing certain states because of their politics to have them, then, you think you've seen it all. And clearly we haven't. So let me share with you that the Health and Human Service Department is now controlling and restricting how much treatment supply goes to each and every state. And the Republican governors are like, whoa, wait, why aren't we getting what we need? And apparently they're not. In fact, if you look at the states, they happen to be a group of southern states, including Florida, Louisiana, Texas, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee. These are the states that actually have been hit really hard recently by coronavirus. And, the Biden administration says, it's not right because they're taking up 70% of the supply. I'm sorry, we are one big country, are we not? Right? We are the United States of America. Does it matter where people are getting sick? If they're taking up 70% of the supply, okay, so be it. They need it. You're actually telling me that you feel justified in any way, shape, or form withholding that? I mean, wow. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is furious about it, and he's on a warpath. He's criticizing all of this, saying that the mandates have aggressively expanded or rather, I should say, he has expanded free monoclonal antibody treatment centers. And the Sunshine State is, of course, defying the Biden administration's mandates, which he believes are making Biden kind of mad. Yeah. That's for sure, right? The president has made it very clear he's very angry with states that are not complying with his mandates. According to state statistics in Florida, there were roughly 10,700 COVID-19 hospitalizations as of September 14th. Just a few days ago, that was down from the peak of 17,121 in August. That would have been August 22nd. And DeSantis is saying that's because they're focused on these monoclonal antibodies, and that early treatment is making a difference early on. It's saving people's lives. So why would Biden not want to give them as much as they need, right? If you have people that otherwise would die from this, you can't just say, okay, well, we're not going to give it to you because it happens to be Florida, and we don't agree with you in Florida because you haven't enforced our vaccine mandates. I mean, come on. I mean, this is not a time for politics, right? I was the first one to call this for what it was in terms of how people were willing to manipulate and use this issue for political purposes. Don't forget, they did not want Donald Trump in the White House. They were going to use this for all it's worth. And by the way, I'm sure the other side would be, willing to kind of do the same. I mean, it's not as though anybody's been very forgiving of Joe Biden and the worsening crisis. And I think Republicans can point to that and say, when they want to get political, gee, you haven't really done what you said you would do. But let's just take a moment here and say there's no place for politics when people are dying. And if people in Texas or in Florida need these antibodies and you don't want to give them, you just want to hoard them for yourself, well, that is criminal. Okay, that is absolutely positively wrong, and I'm disgusted by it. Another thing I'm disgusted by, and I can't wait to talk about this because I actually have a solution that I think might actually work and might provide a lot of information to all of us as Americans, and that's the General Mark Milley stuff. So we're going to get to that in just a moment. But first, I want to tell you about something else that will probably make your blood boil, because it definitely made mine boil. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Cori Bush, Ilhan Omar. You got a few members of the squad there and some others are all coming out saying we need to extend unemployment benefits. I mean, you knew this one was coming, right? Like we could see this one a mile away. But what's so nuts about it is that you don't really have a justification for this, right? I mean, you actually have a 5.4% unemployment rate. If you ask me, that's pretty darn good. People are choosing not to go back to work. You know why they don't want to go back to work? Because in some cases, people have made an informed decision that maybe they don't need to work. Maybe they were close to retirement. Maybe they have a spouse that works and they thought it was more worthwhile to have one parent staying home. And they could do, with a whole lot less. I think coronavirus certainly taught us all that, right? You don't have to go on the fancy vacations, and you don't have to eat out every night, and you don't have to have all the clothes and all the paraphernalia, right? All the trappings that go with your lifestyle. People kind of figured out, here's what I need. So that's one reason people aren't going back to work. And the other reason, of course, is that you've had all kinds of unemployment benefit programs that have made it very, very easy for people to stay home. Well, AOC, Cori Bush, Ilhan Omar, and the rest of them want to continue that easy living, right? You got easy street. Nobody has to go to work because Uncle Sam is going to pay for it all, or in this case, Uncle Joe. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that, because you know what? In this case, it's you and me. They want our money. They're going to take our money so that other people can sit home. I mean, it is so fundamentally wrong, so fundamentally un-American. And yet this is what they're clamoring on about. They have a new bill that they're proposing so that they can extend the unemployment benefits. They're furious that they ended on September 6th. I'll tell you, it's great that they ended on September 6th, because maybe now businesses finally have an opportunity to hire some labor. I mean, nobody wanted to go to work, you see, because why bother when the government pays that well? I mean, it's kind of nice sitting home on your couch, right? This is not rocket science. This is common sense. And you got a bunch of bratty school children, a young lady in there too, according to Joe Manchin. That would be AOC. That makes her really mad. They all want everybody to be able to live, high and mighty off of those that work. Well, that's not right. It's not fair. And it's not American, right? To expand our government and to basically buy votes, because don't forget, that's exactly what they're doing. They want to just give people just enough money to keep them satisfied, right? And get them to continue voting for them so that they can keep sitting home on their couch. Well, it'd be nice if they focused a little bit more on empowerment. It would be nice if people focused a little bit more on savings. Some people out there certainly are. I mean, you've got meme stocks galore, right? One of the big meme stocks I want to tell you about is a company called IronNet. IRNT is the ticker. And I've been writing about cyber stocks for a while, actually, because to me, cyber warfare is quite real. And companies need to invest. They need to invest in security. They need to invest in privacy. They need to make sure that all the data is locked up and really, really safe. Because if it's not, you can't come back from something like that. And in this day and age, companies are increasingly vulnerable. So Keith Alexander, who's the former head of the NSA, so he kind of knows a thing or two about, computers and security. He started a company called IronNet a few years ago, and he's been enormously successful with it. He took it public via a SPAC, and it's done extremely well. IRNT is the ticker. And Keith Alexander his company just announced earnings, and they did great on their earnings. They made much more than anybody thought. And so suddenly now this has become quite popular in the meme world, and people are talking about IronNet, IRNT. And I think it's one you should check out. I really do. I mean, aside from the meme stuff, which I never really loved, because I think some of that's really artificial and people get very carried away. But what I love about this company is that I think it has a tremendous future, because look, we need security. Companies need security. Right? Companies need security. And by the way, we need security, right? I mean, and that brings me to the next thing, which is personal security. I mean, does it make any sense that the company who controls half of the online retail business out there, and also, passively eavesdrops on your conversations right at home. I mean, that Alexa thing totally freaks me out. I mean, what's the idea there? You know, that you have these companies that have access to you and access to your email, and they know what your internet searches are. I mean, they know what you're downloading onto your smartphone. It's really actually pretty alarming. It's like they know us better than we know ourselves, right? Big tech is super powerful right now in a very, very scary way. And look, the reality is they're profiting off of us. They're profiting off of our data. It's all for sale, which is why I use, and you should use, a VPN at home, right? You want to have that private network. You need to be protected. You need a Chinese wall, no pun intended, right, between you and the rest of the world. And the one that I turn to is ExpressVPN. Great company. Everything on ExpressVPN, I mean, in terms of being able to protect you from the privacy, is really and truly there. This is software that actually hides your IP address, right? So when you go online, big tech, which normally knows exactly, who's walking into the store and who's walking out. Now they can't know, because you have hidden that from them if you're using ExpressVPN. It encrypts 100% of your internet data. It keeps you safe from hackers. It keeps you safe from eavesdroppers that are on your network. And it does so without slowing your internet connection, right? That's important, because none of us want to get slowed down in terms of what we're doing. And that is why it has been rated the #1 VPN service by both CNET as well as TechRadar. I want you to check it out. You can get a great deal right now. I want you to stop handing over your personal data. I mean, why do that, right? I mean, think about what we expect of companies. We expect companies to protect our personal data. And somehow when we go online, we're like, woohoo, here it is. They've got all the cookies, this, that, and the other, and they can track you. Don't let them do that. Go to expressvpn.com/Trish. Use my name. Go to expressvpn.com/Trish, because this way you can get a very, very special deal that I've worked out for you. I've actually had this company for years. It's funny because they wanted to help sponsor this show, which makes me love them even more, of course, and you should too. But I've actually used them for years because this is so important to me. So I was like, this is great. I only want to endorse companies I believe in, products I believe in. This is one that I have a lot of experience with. So I said, I want my team, my folks, my peeps that are watching this to be able to get a great deal. And that's what they delivered. 3 months free. Go to expressvpn.com/Trish. Do it today. I mean, do not put it off, because again, you don't want those little gremlins watching everything you do. The other thing I want to tell you is to make sure you go to trishintel.com. Go to my website. We've got all the news that you need to know about politics, markets, economics. It's all there. We have lots of stories for you every single day. And I have a free newsletter. I send it out every single day. So make sure you sign up for the newsletter. You sign up for the podcast. You can do it all at trishintel.com. And we have a very special Live Free or Die. That's my favorite motto, of course. The state I'm from, New Hampshire, Live Free or Die store there with a lot of terrific items, American flag hats, Live Free or Die bags, etc. So go check that out. I want to get to this other story because I don't know if you've noticed, but the president has been coughing a lot. Every time he speaks, there's, this cough, cough, cough. Now I feel for him because it's allergy season. I'm dealing with some allergies myself. So I know how that can be. And I know that, sometimes the coughing starts and it kind of gets escalated. But, I'm not the president. Thank goodness. I think, although maybe I could, I know I do a better job than him right now. I certainly wouldn't have allowed that in Afghanistan. But anyway, he's been coughing a lot. And so now reporters are starting to ask questions. The NBC reporter just yesterday asked in the press conference what was up with the coughing. This is to Jen Psaki. And, she kind of poo-pooed it and said, nothing, we really don't think anything of it. But I just want to mention that. I just want to flag that for you because I think we've all noticed, and now reporters are noticing. And look, he's up there in age. He's no spring chicken. And so when you see him coughing like that, it does cause some concern. So keep an eye next time you see him up there on stage, see how he does, and know that reporters are noticing this. And this is not a conservative outlet that's asking the question here. This is NBC News, so pretty mainstream. In other words, it has not gone unseen. I want to get to my final story here. I promised you I had a solution for the Milley situation. And the solution is actually pretty simple. Here's what we need. Release the transcripts between Mark Milley and his Chinese counterpart. That conversation, there apparently was one in October and another in January. I really want to hear that one from January for sure. I want to hear them all. But January is very interesting to me because that's apparently when China was worried that we might attack them, according to Milley. Well, not according to Milley, although some people think that he was the source for Bob Woodward's book. But according to the reporter, Bob Woodward, who just wrote this book, apparently there was this conversation between Mark Milley and his counterpart in China. And Mark said, General Milley said, don't worry, we're not really going to attack you. And if we do, I will let you know first. I'll let you know first. So, look, remember the conversations between Trump and the Ukrainian president. Remember what General Flynn went down for. I mean, they went after him with some 100-year-old rule that nobody had ever enforced because he dared to have a conversation ahead of officially being in the slot. The guy wound up in jail because they pressured him so badly, so ruthlessly. He was worried about his family. He was worried about his son. And so he said something. The FBI's like, oh, no, you're lying. You're done. Speaking of lying to the FBI, Clinton's attorney right now is in big trouble for that. Hillary Clinton's attorney lied to the FBI, said he wasn't working for her when in fact he was working for her campaign. He didn't come clean about that, all while he was pushing for the investigation into Russia, of course. I mean, my gosh. Anyway, back to Mark Milley. I think you fix this by just releasing the transcripts, right? We deserve the opportunity to see them, right? We deserve that. As Americans, we need to know. Heck, is it the military that's really ultimately trying to control everything? When you talk about deep state and then you hear that this happened, it really makes you scratch your head and you start to say, wow, there's something else there, right? Does it even matter who civilians vote for and who they elect when you have people in charge that are actually calling all the shots? He shouldn't do that. I mean, he's not a diplomat. That's why we have the State Department. That's why we have Mark Pompeo. That's why we have a president. We don't need Mark Milley doing that. Anyway, they need to release the transcripts. I think we need to just demand it. A reminder, make sure you go to my website, trishintel.com. Do make sure you subscribe to that newsletter because then you will get this podcast delivered in your inbox every single day. Make sure you go to Apple iTunes and download the full audio version of it. Do that for me or Spotify or both. And I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Have a great, great day, everyone.